It's interesting because you guys do wind up revealing that he did touch, and then even the next day on Raw, Big Show's going to come out and say, "Hey, his feet touched. I want my title shot against Triple H." Of course, Triple H was victorious in his defense against Cactus Jack. But that ultimately, I think, lends itself to leading towards a multi-man main event at WrestleMania. Do you think that you had that multi-man WrestleMania main event in mind in advance of this foot touching controversy at the Royal Rumble? Like, had we not had Rock's feet touch inadvertently, allegedly, would the main event have been mano a mano, like Triple H versus The Rock? Was that supposed to be the main event? But because of this, we piled a few more people in there.
I'm not sure what was meant to be. I like the mono a mono approach. I like the one-on-one matchups. I would love to have seen Rock and Triple H in a one-on-one match. I think it'd been outstanding. But I don't need to see. I'm not big on multiple person matches for the title. The the four ways and the triple threats and all those things. It seems to me that they're more often than not seem to be a cop out. They seem to be something that we kind of are forced into, and I don't necessarily think that's a good deal.
Let's talk about TV Guide. That's an interesting topic in 2025 because who the hell even knows what happened to that magazine? But man, 25 years ago, it had the biggest publication distribution of any magazine in the United States, and it wasn't even close. So it's always a big deal when WWE gets to showcase some of their talent on the cover of that magazine. And we would see for the week between January 29th and February 4th, Triple H, The Rock, Mankind, and China all on the cover. Now, they're not going to run a wrestling story inside the magazine, but still, they're on the cover of the thing. Now, what's interesting here is that decision would have seemingly been made fairly recently because as you'll remember, it's November when Stone Cold goes down with the neck injury. You got to assume he would have been on one of the covers. But when you
Yeah.
get The Rock and Triple H, I mean, clearly we think we're headed towards a WrestleMania type main event. We know Mankind has been put through the paces. It makes sense that he would be there with his high profile match that he just had with Triple H. But China, that's kind of cool with the benefit of hindsight. I think a lot of people would have assumed that perhaps it could have been Big Show, since we know that he was also in the finish and he's going to be involved in the main event. But it does tell you from a marketability standpoint, WWE saw a lot of dollars in China.
Female.
Yeah.
The female aspect of that contributed greatly to the situation. So, and I'm not saying she didn't deserve to be there. She earned her spot, and it was good to be able to have a viable female star in that equation. And she certainly filled the bill in that respect.
We should mention that the main event on Monday Night Raw at the Reunion Arena in Dallas on February 7th has a sellout, nearly 13,000 fans, over $367,000 at the gate. But the main event is what Meltzer called one of the best in a long time. Triple H is going to team with X-Pac and the Radicals to take on Too Cool, Rikishi, Cactus Jack, and The Rock. And as we know, Dave Meltzer was not always passing out great ratings for Monday Night Raw matches, but he did here 4.25 stars. He said it had the best heat of any match on Raw in more than a year. One of the big highlights was seeing Rikishi go up for Benoit's German suplex. Meltzer would say it's just one of those nights where everything clicked perfectly. The finish had Eddie Guerrero from the outside trip Grandmaster Sexay. Triple H give him a pedigree, and then Benoit pin him after a diving headbutt. But here come the New Age Outlaws with a pipe, and they're going to lay out all the faces. And then Kane comes down with Paul Bearer, and the pop is ridiculous for Kane coming down. This feels like, a vote of confidence in the rest of the roster. I mean, you're throwing a lot of things at this main event.
Right.
But it was such an almost unfathomable concept of we've got to follow Stone Cold. Like, the fans are here for Stone Cold. He's on the shelf. What do we do? How can we super serve him? Can we survive without Stone Cold? Well, this match proved that, hey, things are going to be fine. Do you remember Vince or others being nervous about how are we going to make it a year without our top act here? I know that sounds silly because it is such a loaded roster, but it feels unfathomable almost that in a prior era, a Hulk Hogan era, that when that machine was really cranking at its peak, you just removed the top star. Was that a challenge, or was it more of an opportunity for the rest of the roster to step up?
Big challenge, and you wonder how well you're going to do without your star and without Stone Cold. Because make no doubt about it, he was the show was built around him. He was the biggest star we had to that date. He was the biggest star that we ever had. So you never know exactly how it's going to be received. But those guys came out without Austin and delivered. And I think that they took that as a personal challenge that we're going to get an opportunity to shine here. The spotlight's going to be on us. So let's deliver. Let's go out there and take care of business. And they did. And I was very proud and happily surprised at the positive results that match yielded.
The next week, we're going to see The Rock wrestle Chris Benoit on Monday Night Raw, and it's going to be their very first singles match. I mention this because these guys had several magical matches through the years, but I noticed that it felt like The Rock really stepped his game up anytime he had a match with Chris Benoit.
I think everybody did, Conrad.
Talk to me about that. Why do you think that was?
Work ethic, a gladiator mentality. Benoit was a no-nonsense guy. It's obviously horrible what happened in the latter days of his life, but as far as just a pure wrestler was concerned, he was hard to beat.
Do you think certain talents felt like they had maybe a chip on their shoulder and they wanted to prove that? Because I know that a lot of guys, we saw in more recent years, there was a lot of criticism of MJF who would say, oh, he's just a promo. Oh, he's a one-trick pony. Oh, he's not a great wrestler. And then we see him go out there and just have an absolute barn burner with Bryan Danielson. And then a lot of people start to change their tunes. We saw that way back when with Sting and Vader. Everybody loves Sting, and he's the baby face, and he's the franchise, and all that. But it did feel like Vader brought out the best in Sting, and we saw fantastic matches. And I think that's what we were seeing here with The Rock and Chris Benoit. Maybe The Rock wanted to prove, hey, man, there's nothing this guy can do that I can't do. And it does feel like he really steps his game up, and the result is incredible matches. Benoit, I think, brought out some of the best in The Rock.
Yeah, and everybody else that he worked with. It's just his pace, his intensity was just beyond compare. I'll always have great respect for Chris's wrestling abilities. Nobody can condone what he did in the latter days of his life involving his family. But as far as just wrestling, he was very hard to beat. He was just extremely, extremely talented. I loved his intensity, and I think he brought out that same intensity with just about everybody that he worked with.
Don't we all love summer vacation, relaxing, laying out by the pool, barbecues, hitting the beach, doing, nothing? Well, how about a summer vacation from your house payments? With SaveWithConrad.com, you can do just that. Reduce your monthly payments by making the equity you built up in your home work for you. You can roll together those high interest rate credit cards into one lower monthly payment, and perhaps access some of that newfound equity to turn your house into your dream home with no money out of pocket. And how about this? You get to skip your next 2 house payments. That's right. You won't have to make your June or your July house payment. You're done until August 1st. Go right now to SaveWithConrad.com. Let my team run the numbers for you for free. There's no obligation, and if we can't help you save some cash, we won't waste your time. And did I mention we're offering a 3-year guarantee right now? That's right. That means if at any point interest rates improve over the next 3 years, you get a free refi. That's right. No new lender fees from us. So you get to save money now without wasting money later when the rates improve on a whole second set of closing costs. Why not go to SaveWithConrad.com and get a guarantee? Save money now and save money later with your friend in the mortgage business. That's me, Conrad Thompson at SaveWithConrad.com. Shoot me an email at Conrad@SaveWithConrad.com. Give us a call at 888-425-0105. Or get yourself a quick quote. Even talk to a live person right now at SaveWithConrad.com. NMLS number 2129, equal housing lender. take a summer vacation from house payments at SaveWithConrad.com.